I'm Janet Morano, the Executive Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to our program. And of course, I am still excited and thrilled celebrating the overturning finally of Roe v. Wade. As most of you know, I have been working with Father Pavone for over 3 decades on this issue. And, while we are not done until every unborn child is protected in all 50 states, but it's a huge monumental victory. And, the other side is totally unhinged. And what I've decided to do now is to introduce and interview some of the heads of some of the best pro-life organizations in our nation to see how are they weathering under this attack from the other side. How are we weathering the storm? And also, too, we want you to get involved and do more. Because see, if everyone who's sitting back going, well, sure, I'm pro-life, and yeah, it's good we overturned Roe, but what's in it for me? What should I do now? Brothers and sisters, if we want to protect the unborn child in all 50 states, everybody watching this program has to get involved in some way. Well, joining me today is another person who's been at it for decades, and he's going to tell you how long. And he does direct action, meaning he is out with his teams in front of the abortion clinics, and they don't yell and scream at these women. They are there giving them real hope, real help, saving babies moments from death. We're talking about moments before that woman walks into that abortion clinic. They are there standing in the gap, rain, snow, sleet, or hail. Welcome to the program right now, Brian Gibson, the Executive Director of Pro-Life Action Ministries. Brian, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And of course, we have to do a little, right, like, yay, la, rah, rah, Roe's gone finally, right? We have to celebrate a little bit, don't we?
Yeah, well, God is so faithful. We've been praying so hard and so diligently for so long. So many people, so many good pro-life people all across the nation. And, it's God's victory. I want people to remember that this is God's victory. He required us to work real hard, but that's how God does stuff, right?
Exactly.
When he's doing something big and great, he expects us to work really, really hard. So, but it is good. It's very good to have this evil lifted off our nation.
And like I said, we're not done, but it's a huge victory. Yeah. But tell everybody, Brian, like I just said that Father Frank and I, we've been at this for over 30 years. How long have you been involved, and what caused you to first get into the pro-life movement?
Well, I've been involved with Pro-Life Action Ministries since about the summer of 1981, when the organization was in its infancy, had just started. The 2 men who had founded this organization, both of whom now have passed away at early ages, but they when they founded the organization, I was drawn to it. I just had some people call it a reversion or a conversion, but I just come back to my faith in a very profound way. And I started hearing the talk of doing active work to try and save babies from being killed. And it resonated, and I became a volunteer. And a few years later, they decided to make me their first full-time hire, and I've been doing it ever since.
Wow. So you've been involved from, really, I think Father and I were 30. You're in it for 40 years now, right? Over 40 years of
a little more than 40.
Wow. Okay, so I know Father Frank and I always said we're going to see an end of Roe v. Wade in our lifetime. We truly believed that. What was your attitude? Did you think in your lifetime you were going to see the end of Roe v. Wade?
Well, yes, I believe that. And I believed it more in the idea of believing it in faith. It's something we were praying for. And I believe God answers prayers. And so many people were praying for this, both here on earth and those who have gone before us. And I just had that belief that it would happen in my lifetime. And we've had a couple instances throughout the years where we really thought Roe v. Wade was going to be overturned. I remember the first time was with that Webster decision in 1989, and we were certain Roe v. Wade was going to be overturned. And then in 1992, with the Casey decision, we thought it would be overturned. A little less sure of it than we were in '89. And then, when this Dobbs case came forward, it was kind of like, well, we've been burned before. Yeah, it looks good, but will they really do it and stuff? But by God's grace, it happened.
Right. And of course, I don't know if you have read the document. I've read a good portion of it, not completely, but a good portion of it. And of course, in the document, and of course, we know Alito was the justice who wrote the document. He overturned not just Roe v. Wade, but also within that Planned Parenthood versus Casey. Also, he's directly mentioned that, and of course, Doe v. Bolton also went by the wayside too. So actually, this struck down 3 Supreme Court decisions: Roe v. Wade, Doe v. Bolton, and Planned Parenthood versus Casey. So I mean, that was, I think, a really huge victory for us. And of course, I've been saying this, Brian. I'm sure you would agree. People used to talk in the movement, what will it take? Because like you just pointed out, we had a few disappointments. And most of the legal experts that we know, the pro-life legal beagles out there, they always told us, right, Brian? Well, we need a willing court. We need justices willing to do this, right? I mean, that's what we've been told. And if it wasn't for President Trump, we wouldn't have been overturning Roe, because he gave us those 3 wonderful conservative justices. And that's what we needed, to have a conservative majority to look and see how poorly Roe was really written, and it can't stand any longer, right?
Yes, and of course, one of those justices was replacing the great Justice Scalia, who had suddenly passed away on us, and then that was the first appointee that Trump came in. But the other 2 were replacing, pro-abortion justices on the U.S. Supreme Court, which gave us this majority. So yeah, it's the willing court, as you said, is absolutely part of it, and so forth. And it's just God bringing all these things together at the right place and right time, and here we are today. So it is exciting, but the work ahead of us is formidable, and we are not even hardly started to bring an end to this yet.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, as we know, in it's almost like the blue states, unfortunately, some of them have already passed laws that they're going to keep abortion legal till birth. And that's like New York and California, Illinois, Vermont, and the list keeps growing. And sadly, the 3 governors of Washington State, Oregon, and California got together and said, we're going to make it so that women can come to our states. We'll help them. They're going to be the abortion tourism bureau over there. It's so sad. But let's switch gears for a minute and talk about Pro-Life Action Ministries, the work you do. We call it direct action, but tell everyone, give us a snapshot on a day in front of the abortion mill before Roe was overturned. First, I want to know what things were like, and then I'm going to ask you after that what it's like now. So first, tell everyone your work trying to save those babies and their moms right in front of Planned Parenthood.
Well, the basic concept, the idea of a direct action effort for pro-life work, the street ministry, as you might call it as well. The idea is that as followers of Jesus Christ, when we recognize and realize that every day there are real living human beings who are dying, who are being killed by abortion, there are real living human beings involved in this that are being scheduled to be killed, that we as followers of Christ need to intervene in the best way we can. We need to follow the gospel principles that are laid out before us. We have to be peaceful, we have to be prayerful, but we have to try and do what we can to reach out to save as many of those babies as we can, while all the other work goes on to bring an end to abortion. So that's kind of the basic concept. So a day on the street is going to be, well, first of all, we have probably the most comprehensive sidewalk counseling program in the nation for one location. And being the first to organize sidewalk counseling starting in 1981, we've been working hard at this for a very long time. So we'll have sidewalk counselors standing outside of all the abortion facilities in the state of Minnesota where abortions are taking place on that particular day. So it may be everyone in the whole state, or it might be most of them in the state, depending upon which day it is of the week. Along with those 2 or 3 sidewalk counselors being present who are offering hope and help to the women who are going in for abortions, we'll have prayer supporters present by, in some cases, a dozen or so in one location. Other cases, it's going to be just a couple of people there in prayer support as well. But they'll be out there sometimes holding signs, most of the time praying. And since we work cross-denominationally, we may have a small group of people praying the rosary. We may have other people praying out of the scriptures. We may have others singing hymns and songs from their particular denomination, but all out there doing the same work of praying before God while the active sidewalk counselors are trying to save the lives of those children.
Right. Well, and Brian, the other side make it sound like those of you who are out in front of the abortion clinics, the mills, yell and scream, "Don't kill your baby, murder!" Now, I've been out in front of the abortion mills plenty, like you have, and I know that's not the case. But can you just give our viewers and our listeners here an idea? Like, you see a woman, she gets out of her car, she's heading into the abortion mill. What do you say to her? What do you do? Give us an example.
Well, first of all, the word murder is banned from our lexicon when we're sidewalk counseling. Completely banned. You're not allowed to use that word under any circumstances, okay? Because it just has wrong connotations when trying to reach the heart and the mind of that woman. So it's not allowed. But in most of our locations now, our contact point is only at a driveway as the woman drives deep into an abortion facility parking lot. So, we're going to approach the car. We're going to use the international symbol for roll down your window. And amazingly, people that have never seen these things and have only known these things will still roll their windows down. And they'll stop, they'll roll their windows down. We tell them we have some information for them, which is the literature, which is intended on its own to be able to save the life of the child. And then we'll start talking about the help that's available. In most locations we're at, there's a pregnancy resource center within a block of the abortion facility. So we'll be pointing out where it is, letting them know of all the help that's available. If they're still sitting there by this time, we'll then start talking about their circumstances, their child, maybe ask some questions to try and start answering those situations and so forth. By this point, we usually have clinic escorts from the abortion facility, long interfering with what we're trying to engage in that conversation. And so if the woman is still willing to talk to us at this point, we try to get her to pull out of their driveway and go nearby. And now we can start having a one-on-one conversation at that point.
And so when you say, you're handing her the literature, that thing you're handing her at that point, if she'll take it, what does it say? Because, people don't understand how this works. So give us an idea. That piece of paper, that little brochure, whatever you're handing her, what does it say to her?
Well, we have 2 brochures we hand out together. And the first one is the one that we've created after, actually, it was made about 30 years into doing what we do. And it's from all the experience we have. It says right on the front of it, says, "We're here for you." And inside, it has a little bit of fetal development. It has a little bit about what abortion does to the baby. It does a little bit about what abortion does to the woman. There's a picture of an ultrasound of an unborn baby. And then the back has got contact information where they can call for help or go online for help, for that matter, with their cell phones. Now, we hand out a companion piece that is purely local that goes with it. Because the first piece I just talked about, it's being used all over the United States by sidewalk counselors. But the second piece, we call it our blue sheet, Janet. Can you guess why? It's blue. So our blue sheet has a listing of all the pro-life pregnancy resource centers, the post-abortion healing programs, the funding agencies, the medical centers that are available, all the different pro-life agencies in our area. And so what we'll do is we'll point out that not only is there help nearby, but there's help that may be closer to where you live, and there's help all over the place. So it's a combination of giving them a dose of the truth of what abortion is and then letting them know all the help that's available. And that combination has been very successful.
Wow. Okay, so this week, Brian, so far, we're actually recording this program on a Wednesday. Have you been out to the abortion mill at all this week so far?
Well, you see this bright shirt I'm wearing. That is my Sidewalk counseling shirt. And today, being Wednesday, as you said, we're recording on a Wednesday. I was out this morning for a couple hours at our Planned Parenthood in St. Paul, Minnesota. It's the highest volume abortion Planned Parenthood facility in the United States.
When you say highest volume, give our people an idea what we're talking about.
Well, in the year 2020, they reported to the state of Minnesota 7,490 abortions in that 1 year. The 2021 report just came out, and it's gone down a little bit, but we're still close to 7,200 abortions in 2021 out of that one facility.
Wow. I mean, and that means that's how many babies died. That's
the number of abortions. If you start talking about any of those abortions being multiples,
right,
as in case of twins or something, then it's more babies were killed than just that number. Yeah.
Yeah, unbelievable. And so before the overturn of Roe, on a day like today, you were out of well, first of all, let's talk about today for a minute before we go back before and after Roe. Were you able to get any women to stop at the driveway? Tell us, like, what was today like?
Yeah, this morning we had myself and one other sidewalk counselor for about an hour and a half. A third sidewalk counselor came in, and then at the end of my shift, there were two or three more that were taking over after I completed it. The whole time, we had at least two or three people out there in prayer support on the sidewalk nearby, praying, and so that was kind of the scene. I believe we got literature women out of the dozen or so that we saw coming through. I would say literature got into the hands of at least 5 of them, and that's not too bad when you consider the active effort that's being done by these abortion clinic escorts that they have. They go to great lengths to try and get the women to not take literature, not to stop. And if they do take literature, they go to great lengths to try and take it away from them. These so-called pro-choice people, they try to take the choices away that they just received. But that's pretty typical. I mean, when we're out there, anywhere from about 4 or 5 to about 9 or 10 women will take literature going in.
That's great. And then let's say last month, we're in July now, but for the month of June, how many babies would you say your group was directly able to save out of that one Planned Parenthood?
Oh gosh, you just asked me a question I don't know the answer to. I know there were at least 3, but I think it was probably more than that. It was probably more than that, but that's what I know right off the top of my head.
Hey, listen, Brian, if you saved only 3, it was well worth 3, right? I mean, if it was just 1, it was worth it, right?
Absolutely. Every one is worth every ounce of effort we put into it. Yes.
Right. Okay, so now we're Roe v. Wade has happened. What has the difference been in front of the abortion mill with the clinic escorts and the atmosphere there since the overturning of Roe v. Wade? Has there been a difference?
Well, as far as the activities, what we're doing in front of the abortion facilities, no real difference. We noticed that those that drive by, and this is a busy street, it goes into an industrial park, a lot of vehicles going by. Those that support abortion, support Planned Parenthood, maybe a little more vocal as they drive by with their windows rolled down. They call us number 1 with that middle finger often, and things like that. So yeah, that happens. But at the same time, conversely, those who are pro-life, we're getting more highs and more smiles and more waves and more people stopping and thanking us for being out there. So it's kind of it's both ends at the same time, and like that. But that doesn't get to your real question about the atmosphere. I think for us on the sidewalk, us sidewalk counselors and the prayer supporters, it's almost as if this big, heavy weight has been lifted off of us. We still have to do the same work. They're still killing. It's still grave evil taking place inside that building, and we know that the work ahead of us is still monumental. But it's like this heavy weight has just been lifted off, and there's a different peace, a different joy in our hearts as we go about this difficult work than we had before.
Right. And tell us about the laws currently on the books in Minnesota regarding abortion. Are there any laws protecting the unborn at all or helping women? What's your state like?
Well, this is a blue state. That's why I raised my hand when you're talking about blue states. This is a state where abortion remains legal now that Roe v. Wade's been overturned, despite the fact that it probably had the most pro-life laws prior to Roe v. Wade in the United States, or among the most. But now those have been taken away. We have some modest pro-life laws that exist. We have a fetal disposal law, was the first in the country. We have parental notice, again, the first in the nation. We have a woman's, they call it woman's right to know, but it's informed consent. Physicians, licensed physicians only. And we have a reporting law that's very thorough, amazing reporting law as far as understanding and seeing what the abortion facilities are doing. And I believe, well, we have a law that under Roe v. Wade was found or was being held or thought of as being unconstitutional, and where it's ambiguous where it's at right now. And that was just that once you got halfway through the pregnancy, abortions could no longer be done in freestanding clinics and would have to be done only in hospitals. But abortions are allowed through all 9 months of pregnancy in Minnesota. We have a state Supreme Court decision from 1995 that gives the claim that there's an inherent right to abortion in our state constitution. Again, a state that had some of the strongest anti-abortion laws for more than 100 years suddenly has a constitutional right to abortion. So that's how judges work. So we have that as a problem. We currently have a lawsuit that's working its way through the state courts in Minnesota that's intended to eliminate all those laws I just talked about and just make it a fundamental open season on unborn babies in Minnesota. So
Wow.
I don't like that term destination state, which has been used by some. This is the epicenter of abortion for the upper Midwest.
Right. And so some of the people may not understand some of those bills you rattled through. So I just thought we'd do a little clarification. First of all, the one that Planned Parenthood fights that always baffles me is the woman's right to know, right? Because they talk about my body, my choice, my choice. So then why are you against women being given information about the procedure they're about to undergo, right? About
Right.
fetal development and about the abortion itself. I mean, to me, I don't understand that, Brian. Why they fight that one? Parental notification, I think, is very important because guess what? If there's a complication for that abortion, and the parents didn't know their daughter was going off to have an abortion, guess what's going to happen when she needs more medical care? Their medical insurance will probably have to pay for it. I mean, some of these things are just very practical, things, and yet the abortion industry fights every one of those things tooth and nail, right?
You're exactly right. They fight everything that's so minor. They fought our fetal disposal law. They tried to make the claim in federal court when this law was passed in 1987 that having the requirement that the remains of aborted babies be given a dignified burial or cremation somehow would make it harder for women to have abortions. Of course, it's proven not to be true in the least bit throughout all these years. But we, that was based on the finding of the remains of aborted babies that we found in 1987 in a trash dumpster behind a local abortion facility. All these things. Anybody that's using logic and sense, you would think these are modest. They aren't that much. They don't really interfere.
Right.
So why is there a big problem from the abortion side? A question I can't answer.
Now, you did mention there's one law that says it has to be a doctor that performs the abortion. Is that what you said?
Right. We require that a licensed physician is the one that performs abortions in Minnesota.
Well, and again, that's to protect women's health.
Right.
Over in California, just about anybody can do an abortion. You don't have to be a physician. Midwives can do abortions. Physicians' assistants can do abortions. They're even trying to get just a regular nurse to do an abortion. I mean, it's scary stuff. But now I would like people to know how to get involved with the Pro-Life Action Ministries. Tell them about your website. And if somebody wants to get trained as a sidewalk counselor, how can they go about that? Give us some information.
Well, the website is plam.org. I think it's on the screen, plam.org, and that's just short for Pro-Life Action Ministries. We have a very extensive website, covers all the different things that we're doing, as well as a lot of educational information. As far as getting involved in sidewalk counseling, we do training here. Our training is in person and hands-on. So I know there are some that are doing training now online. We still prefer to do this in person, at least for now, because we find the interaction in the classroom is very important. But we also know who is doing training and who the people are doing sidewalk counseling in most locations around the United States. So if you were to contact us at our office, we would be able to get you in contact with somebody that would be willing to train you to be a sidewalk counselor if your location is outside of Minnesota or Central Florida, where we also have an office.
That's great. Well, Brian, I want to thank you for joining me, and I'll hope that brothers and sisters, this is another way to get involved, to saving babies. And I know, sometimes when that car drives by, you feel like, oh, I didn't, it didn't click. But trust me, Brian and his team have been involved in saving a lot of babies over the years. And if it was all that effort was just for one life, it would have been worth it. So, Brian, God bless you as you stand out there, rain, snow, sleet, or hail, and especially up in Minnesota, boy, you can have some pretty cold winters. And you're out there anyway, aren't you, Brian?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay.
It gets a little cold.
Well, God bless you, and I'll see you soon at the next Pro-Life Leaders meeting, okay?
All right. God bless you.
Okay. God bless. Well, brothers and sisters, thank you for joining us on our program today. And before we go, I would just like to quickly remind you of my newest book, Everything You Need to Know About Abortion for Teens, also for adults too, available at abortionandteens.com. I'd love to send you an autographed copy. So again, everything you need to know about abortion for teens. Everyone's talking about abortion. Be informed how to debate and discuss it properly. Well, thank you for joining us on Just Ask Janet. Until next time, I'm Janet Miranda, Executive Director of Priests for Life. Thanks. God bless. I will be